Conservative Republicans across the country often run campaigns on the promise of protecting personal freedoms, but they've increasingly pushed to restrict the freedoms of transgender people.
This is not about phobia. This is not about hate. This is about protecting our children, especially the most vulnerable.
Missouri is no exception to that sentiment. Last week, the state capitol hosted a rally, mostly made up of people wholeheartedly supporting a push to bar trans children from gender-affirming health care. They say to protect those kids. A Senate filibuster stretched 13 hours into Tuesday morning, with Democrats trying to block a vote on the measure, which advanced, along with a push to keep transgender boys and girls off teams that align with their gender identity. Critics say they don't get the animosity.
I feel like a lot of this comes from older people, bubbled up people, speaking for the children as a concept rather than actually talking to them as people.
If signed into law, both measures would sunset or expire in 4 years unless the legislature approves them, a concession Republicans made to get past that filibuster. So a lot of drama on a polarizing issue. Let's dive in. Please welcome back KMBC 9's Michael Mahoney and Jason Hancock, editor-in-chief of the Missouri Independent. Welcome, gentlemen. These are two campaign promises Republicans in Missouri seem to be delivering on. Jason, how do we get to this point?
Well, we entered Monday with the Senate as a tinderbox. You had conservatives demanding a vote and vowing to do whatever they could do to force it. You had Republican leadership really wary of going nuclear and trying to cut off the filibuster because they knew that would be turned into retaliation from Democrats. And you had Democrats vowing to stop this bill at all costs unless Republicans were willing to negotiate. They finally came to a resolution. Democrats still hate this bill, and they're still hopeful that maybe they can find ways to derail it in the House. And there are conservative Republicans that are upset with things like the sunset on these bans on hormone therapy and these other forms of gender-affirming care. But the bill did advance through the Senate. It got past the filibuster. And, you know, it does seem to be warmly received by House Republicans. So I don't see a whole lot of roadblocks on its way to the governor's desk.
Mahoney, where do we go from here? Because we've seen gridlock, and there was a second filibuster on these bills. Are we going to see more of that when it comes to Democrats just trying to hold these up?
They will try whatever they can to hold up these measures, but as Jason said, the road seems to be paved right now. It's interesting to note that both Missouri and Kansas seem to be among the leaders in the state right now when it comes to pressing these trans issues in front of voters. It's Missouri, it's Kansas, and Tennessee are probably three of the leading states that are on the forefront of this.
Yeah, I know the Human Rights Campaign said something like 175 anti-transgender bills are making rounds in state legislatures across the country. Let's talk about campaigns a little bit, Mahoney, because there's a bill now working its way through the House that could potentially bring back the primary.
Right. The presidential primary in Missouri was struck down in legislation last year, and now it's coming back because the politicians in the state and the presidential hopefuls in the U.S. in 2024 want to have a state like Missouri chime in on these sorts of things. And so there'll be a push. I expect it'll be successful to put the presidential primary for the state of Missouri back on the slate, and primarily it would be a Republican primary in Missouri for whomever gets the nomination.
Right, hadn't been gone for long because of the caucus.
No.
Jason, also in the House, there's a push now to dissect certain parts of Governor Parson's budget proposal, everything from libraries to widening I-70. What do you know about that?
Yeah, House Budget Chairman Cody Smith, who's a Republican from down in Carthage in southwest Missouri, has put forth some budget ideas that do trim a lot of the massive spending that Governor Mike Parson included in his budget proposal. The big ones that we've noticed, you know, there's a cut to child care subsidies and the money for I-70. As we speak, you know, there's Republicans that are discussing the idea of what smaller projects around the state could benefit from the, you know, nearly $1 billion that the governor wanted to spend widening portions of I-70. But this is still early. This is the early innings of the budget process. The Senate doesn't seem as open to the idea of cutting these things out. In fact, you had a Senate Appropriations Chairman Lincoln Huff from Springfield talking about we need to put more money into I-70. We shouldn't just be messing with portions of making it wider. We should fix the entire project, finally get it done, a generational project. That's what he wants to do. So we'll see. There's a game of budgetary chicken underway, and the governor right now, he's sort of on the sidelines because he doesn't have a part to play in this until the very end.
Yeah, good point. Really quick, Mahoney, I want to mention this. The House passed a bill essentially killing the South Kansas City landfill project we've been covering. That's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. 3-4 months ago, this looked like may have been a done deal. Since then, the community and opponents have rallied to try and stop it. They've now got it blocked in the legislature. Where it goes from here, anybody knows, but the homeowners down there did an effective job at the legislature, no doubt.
Yeah, it's despite a huge lobbying effort for that, too.
Big one.
All right,
yeah.
Michael Mahoney, Jason Hancock, thank you so much.